Morning everybody, Phil Henry here from Capricornia Chamber of Commerce. As we've been foreshadowing for the last couple of weeks, we're going to be doing interviews with the candidates for the forthcoming state election for the seats of Rockhampton and Keppel. We've reached out to the candidates, and those interviews that we'll be posting are from those candidates who have got back to us and agreed to do the interview. Each of those candidates will have been given their questions a day in advance. There are 6 questions and they get 2 minutes to answer, and we'll be giving them a little bit of a nod as they're coming to the end of their time. They'll also get a minute at the end just to do a wrap up if they want to do. So without further ado, on to the candidates. Hi Brittany, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Good. So you ready to answer some questions?
I am. Looking forward to it.
Terrific. So the first question, it's become traditional for parties to talk about their priorities for the first 100 days in Parliament, in government. What are your priorities for the first 100 days?
Well, that's an easy one, Phil, because first of all, the Queensland Treasurer has committed to releasing a budget, the Queensland budget, within within a month after the election. So that we can say tick. We will do that even within 30 days of the election. Certainly, Great Keppel Island, starting work on that project. The Minister has committed to starting work on the $25 million of common user infrastructure on that project by the end of this year. So tick, that would be actually done within 80 days after the election. Also, I'm very keen to see work start on the $14.3 million detox and rehab centre. Now, this is a really important project for local families. I've spoken with people all over the electorate who really want to see this project happen because it's very important to helping people who have addiction problems with alcohol and other drugs to get the treatment that they need close to home. So a contractor has been appointed, and I'm really looking forward to that work starting after the election, and we can definitely get that work underway within 100 days after the election. So certainly Great Keppel Island delivering a budget, starting work on the detox and rehab centre for this central Queensland region are the 3 biggest priorities, I think, in my view.
So excuse me if I read this one out because I've written a lot of words. But, it's about the business environment basically and stuff that's been raised with us in the Chamber. As identified by Chamber of Commerce and Industry Queensland and the Capricornia Chamber, a business-friendly environment is a key prerequisite for a healthy small business economy. One major concern for regional businesses is the number of institutional barriers in place that prevent local businesses from being given free and fair access to major projects. Many government departments have both published regulations but of more concern opaque and discretionary internal processes that act as barriers. Given the large number of construction and infrastructure projects on the go in this region, what would you do to fix the situation?
Well, that's a great question, and it's really important to local people and especially local businesses to be able to get as much as possible of the work that the Queensland Government is doing in our region so that money stays in our local economy. I'm a big supporter of local bike campaigns, and I've been running one every year since I was elected, that's around Christmas time, trying to encourage local people to buy their Christmas gifts for their friends and family locally as opposed to buying online. I lobbied really hard for the Buy Queensland policy, which the Palaszczuk government introduced a couple of years ago now. That's the strongest local procurement policy in the country, and I think it's a great policy that prioritises local businesses getting the work in local communities. And we've seen that policy working really well across this region where local companies are being prioritised for that work in our region. Just for example, that detox and rehab centre that's being built, the local contractor Woolworths, they've been selected because not only are they local, but they're prioritising the local subbies and trades that they're using to build that project as well. Now, having said that, even though we've been doing great work in this space and prioritising those local businesses, I think that there is still more work that needs to be done, specifically about breaking down some of the corporate agreements that we have, or that government has, in certain sectors of the economy to make sure that more local businesses can get access. And people like Cindy and Nev, who own the Southside Caravan Park, they say, well, how can we get more government workers who are travelling to Rockhampton staying in our caravan park? Using corporate travel management, a sort of overarching corporate system to be able to make those travel bookings, that's actually leaving people like Cindy and Neil out of the loop of being able to get that work. So breaking down those barriers to ensure that local people like Cindy and Neil to be able to get that work, and those people staying in their local hotels and accommodation, is another really important priority.
Next question, Brittany. What are your infrastructure priorities for the Capricornia region?
Great question. There's so many that I could list, and I probably need about half an hour to answer this question. But delivering the Detox and Rehab Centre, a $14.3 million, 42-bed infrastructure facility to help treat local people. We're getting on with the job of building $25 million worth of infrastructure on Great Keppel Island. We need to finish the job on the Capricornia Correctional Centre, a $240 million project where local businesses are being prioritised as much as possible on that work. And you talk to people like Greg Adams at Adnort Sheet Metal, and they are really loving the fact that their business is being prioritised in the building of that expansion. We need to build upon our roads and delivering on our commitment for the $80 million for Yeppoon Rocky Road. That's a really important road to our whole community and economy. We need to improve its safety and efficiency, and there's $80 million worth of money that we can start within 100 days after this election as well. So we can add that to the list of the first question too. In terms of schools, we have just announced a record $1 billion worth of infrastructure for schools across Queensland just last Friday, and that includes $58 million for schools in this region. So I'm looking forward to $8 million worth of a new manual arts and hospitality training centre being built at Yeppoon State High. 80% of those children that study at Yeppoon State High don't go to uni, they want to go and work in hospitality or trade. And so having a manual arts and training facility at Yeppoon State High is going to give those kids a great start to getting a job in the industries that they want to work in. We've got lots of work that we still need to do in health as well. So building more infrastructure in health. We've just committed to building a new PPE warehouse in Rocky that will stockpile PPE for health workers in this region, and that's a really important piece of infrastructure that will create jobs in the construction, but it will also mean that local health workers will have the PPE that they need.
Next question, Brittany. Availability of sufficient affordable baseload power while reducing net emissions from energy sources is a key component of economic sustainability. What's your view of this objective and how would you achieve it?
Well, cheap power prices means that business and industry can be more productive. And that's exactly what we want to see, and that's also exactly what we're seeing at the moment. Queensland has the lowest wholesale electricity price of any state or territory on the eastern seaboard, and that is because we have a very good base of young coal-fired generators in Queensland. We are actually generating so much power that we're selling it to the other states in peak times, and that money then goes back into our electricity system and network. It actually helps subsidise power in regional Queensland, but we're also investing in renewables, and the Clark Creek Wind Farm, for example, that has just been approved and that Stanmore Corporation has bought 75% of the electricity generated from that wind farm to go back into their system and into the grid, will mean that we can further reduce electricity prices. What they've bought that power for is actually a lot less than what it costs for Stanwell to generate through coal fire. So a dynamic mix of hydrogen, wind and coal in this region, for example, will mean that where we can invest in the renewable energy hubs that we're talking about, where there's tariff incentives for business to establish here. Cheaper power means more productive business and industry. That then means more jobs, and I think that we're on the right track in terms of driving down prices to help business and industry, and we're seeing the investment from an interest in growing industry and business in this region as a result of those low power prices. So we're on the right track. Diversifying our electricity mix is absolutely key, and having low power prices is absolutely critical.
It's become apparent in recent years that the education and skills system, particularly apprenticeships, has failed to keep pace with business and industry needs. So what would you do to rectify this situation in this region?
Well, I'm really passionate about this because I want to see where we're investing in infrastructure locally, that local people actually get the work. And we've seen in projects in the past where there's a huge investment in infrastructure, but local people don't have the skills or experience to actually complete the work and get the jobs. So those contractors then have to use outside labour. People from southeast Queensland have been coming up and working on those projects. I want to see an end to that so that local people can get the work, get the jobs that in our local community. Now, we have been doing lots of work in the Skilling Queenslanders for Work space. We brought that program back, and that's about giving job seekers the skills and experience to actually get a job. That is across a whole range of industries. We've got certificates and traineeships in construction, in personal care. They're target industries where we actually have a skills shortage, so that we can produce graduates from those programs that then can go on to work in industries, especially where there's a skills shortage. There is a lot of great work being happening in that space, where one example, a local road contractor was saying that they couldn't find local people skilled for jobs. There's a local training organisation saying, well, we're producing these graduates, why aren't you putting them on? They got together with Skilling Queenslanders for Work and with my assistants to be able to tailor the program to make sure that when those Construction 1 graduates completed that training, that they actually came out with the tickets that they needed to be able to start work straight away on that jobs project. So it's making sure that the people who want the work are doing the training that then gives them the tickets and the skills to find work. I'm also doing lots of work in this space in manufacturing, especially working with industries like All Industries Group in Yeppoon, making sure that they're having a say about the kinds of technology that we're using and the training that we're doing to make sure that the trainees and the graduates are skilled with the experience that they need to be able to go into their industry.
So particularly since the onset of COVID-19, but also reflecting the global marketplace, businesses need to better understand the digital and online world, but have access to stable, high-speed internet. So what are your policies to help local businesses understand e-commerce and get that access to high-speed internet?
Oh, high-speed internet is absolutely critical, not only for business, but also for education, the whole community. We see places like this in the Smart Hub. There are businesses here that are growing that need high-speed internet in order to foster that growth. Without that high-speed internet, they're going to be left behind and they'll move to elsewhere, either in the world or elsewhere in the country. Rockhampton has absolutely been forgotten when it comes to the national broadband network. There are only very few areas that have fibre to the premises. We need, I think that it's welcome news that the federal government is going to look at fibre to the premises for all of those gaps, but it's almost too little too late. We've needed that fibre to the premises for years already, and we are very much behind in the global stakes for how fast our internet is. If we're going to keep up with the rest of the world in terms of productivity and efficiency and our education system, we need that high-speed internet. The Queensland Government has established the QCN network, which is a fast fibre to the premises use of our fibre network right across Queensland. That's about using excess availability of that fibre for retailers to be able to tap into it and offer fast, high-speed internet. That was one of the initiatives of the Palaszczuk Labor government. We will continue our work in that space. That means that local retailers can actually offer, or internet retailers can actually offer then faster internet than what was available previously because of that initiative. There are businesses right across this region who desperately need fast internet, but they also need help digitising. So making sure that they've got barcode systems and that everything, all of their stock take and inventory is all online, and that they can then order stocks electronically as well. That is critical, and the small business adaptation grants have been really amazing to help local businesses be able to digitise and get up with the rest of the world in terms of their products.
Okay, Brittany, look, thanks very much for those answers. To wrap up, we'd like to give you another minute if you'd like to summarise all your claims and for election.
Thanks, Phil. I'm Brittany Lauger, the State Labor Member for Keppel. I was elected back in 2015, and I'm really proud to have delivered hundreds of millions of dollars worth of infrastructure. The Yeppoon Lagoon, $29 million I delivered, and I'm so proud to have seen on the weekend so many people enjoying that beautiful community space. We've got $25 million on the table for Great Keppel Island to finally restore the island to its former glory. We're building the $14.3 million detox and rehab centre, a really critical project for local families and community to help people who are sick get the help that they need. We are building school infrastructure like you've never seen before. Parkhurst State School's $8 million worth of classrooms are underway, and I want to get that job finished. $8 million for a new trade training facility at Yeppoon State High School, making sure that the young people of our future have a great stepping stone to a career in industry and trades. There is so much more left to be done, and we can't risk an LNP Frecklington government, so I'm asking for your support to help get the job done.